Well, that's fan art. Thanks, pure ostension. On the bright side, the fan art version of me dances better than I actually do, so let's go ahead and roll the intro.
Hello, this is Pastor Gene Kim of San Jose Bible Baptist Church. I want to cover some really dumb things that atheists will say.
Well, hello, Gene Kim. You have a doctor in front of your name. I'm curious. I did a little digging, and it turns out that you got a bachelor's from Berkeley, and then you got your master's and doctorate from PBI. It seems to be an acronym that stands for Pensacola Bible Institute, which is a diploma mill. So you have a diploma in the same way that Dr. Kent Hovind has a diploma. It's a fake diploma. So congratulations on getting your bachelor, but please stop putting that honorific doctor in front of your name when you haven't frickin' earned it. If you guys would like, I'm going to be listing the entire list of unaccredited colleges that do not give legit diplomas in the description below. Sorry, that was the first thing that I figured I'd go ahead and have to point out. Sorry, anytime that I see a KJV-only Baptist preacher, I generally assume that their doctorate's not legit, but I do like to do my research since that's what makes me a skeptic in the first place, and it turns out that my hunch was correct. So anyway, now that your entire position's been undermined from the get-go since you're lying to your audience, let's continue.
Sometimes some Christians might have a difficulty to witness to an atheist, and they might wonder, man, I don't know how I can answer their questions, their arguments. They sound very sound. Well, in the Word of God, the Bible says that atheism is actually very, very foolish.
Okay, so your argument against atheists is that your book says atheism is foolish. Well, let me go ahead and just write the quick Bible of atheism here, and it says in here, KJV-onlyist Christian fundamentalists are stupid. So I guess that means that you're stupid, except I would never actually argue that you're stupid or foolish because my book says so. I mean, I don't even have a book, but let's assume that I did. So we'll go ahead and start out that not only did you lie to your audience by saying that you have an actual doctorate, but you're also telling them that because your book says that somebody is foolish, then you get to call them foolish. Sorry, man, that sounds like foolishness to me.
Because in Psalms chapter 14, verse 1, it says, "The fool has said in his heart, there is no God."
I'm an atheist, and I don't say there is no God. I say that I don't believe there are any gods. That is a big difference.
So in reality, even though the atheists, they cover up a lot of what they argue, that sounds kind of smart. In reality, it's actually very, very foolish and dumb.
Let's see if I can do the same thing. Hold on. So even though what the Christian says might sound really smart, in reality, it's covered by a centuries-old book, and it's really, really dumb. I normally don't use low tactics like this, but I have no problem using them with somebody who started out with lying to their audience. Sorry, I'm going to kind of hammer that one here.
And I'm going to give you 3 things, all right, that proves that atheism is actually very dumb.
It sounds to me like you're giving this argument to a bunch of children. Because normally when we're talking about philosophical positions, we would say that the opponent's position is untenable or inconsistent, or basically a word that is not immediately pejorative, but shows that the position has been sufficiently undermined. What you're doing here, though, is just saying that the position's dumb. And based on what I'm glancing at on the board back there, it seems like your reasons don't have anything to do with atheism at all. But I'm willing to let you make your case. Continue.
All right, the first thing that you might have difficulty with is, how can you believe in creationism when you never saw it? You see, that's the first dumb thing that they say. So you don't have to get cornered by that. I never saw God creating the whole universe before, so I can't prove that there is a God. Well, what do they believe in creating the universe then? They believe in evolution, the Big Bang. Then you point your finger at them and you say, well, you never saw the Big Bang before either. So how can you believe in the Big Bang when you never saw it? How can you believe that some kind of matter and chance happened together and created this whole universe? You believe that happened when you never saw it?
Oh, goody! I love when my opponent's argument is basically just tu quoque. So, for those who aren't aware, tu quoque is basically the what about you fallacy. You said that my position's wrong. Well, what about you? Yours isn't much better. That's fine, but let's go ahead and assume that my position's wrong. It doesn't automatically make your position right. Also, by the way, the Big Bang didn't create the universe. In fact, that word, create, isn't part of the theory of universal expansion at all. And evolution doesn't have jack all to do with the origin of life, much less the origin of the universe. For something about life, you're going to have to get into something like abiogenesis. But that is its own topic entirely. Also, there are atheists who don't believe in the Big Bang, and there are atheists who don't believe in evolution. They're rare and far between, but your argument is that all atheists believe this, and therefore atheism is dumb. But atheism doesn't talk about a first cause. Atheism has nothing to do with a first cause argument, which is what you're talking about here since you're bringing up origins. But even if it did, the difference here is that the Big Bang is something that we've actually managed to mathematically calculate. Einstein's theory tends to break down the closer to t equals 0 you get, but the fact of the matter is, through cosmic background radiation, we've actually been able to see most of the effects that we would expect from the Big Bang. Also, the Big Bang is an argument in the favor of a deity as well, because it implies a first cause. So if you undermine the Big Bang, then you undermine all of your arguments henceforth. Congratulations. I didn't even have to do that one. You did it for yourself. As for evolution, that's a pretty well proven fact, the theory of which shows all the facts that are in that data pool. But even if evolution weren't true, you still wouldn't get to a god. You would just have a different theory for the diversification of life. But what can I expect from somebody with a fake PhD?
You see, that's the first dumb thing. The second dumb thing is, I can't believe God exists until he shows up in front of me. Now, there was a big debate with Sean Carroll and William Lane Craig, and supposedly that was the debate that all the atheists said, oh, he did a very good job. Well, Sean Carroll made that very dumb statement, which automatically showed that atheism is already foolish. Because here's the thing, is that he says, I can't believe God exists until he shows up in front of me. All right? You can't believe that a creator exists until he shows up in front of you? Okay, well, I never saw the designer, the creator of my watch before.
No, but we can definitely trace your watch all the way back to the creator. Moreover, we wouldn't be tracing it back to a creator, we would be tracing it back to a designer. Here's the problem with how loosely language gets thrown around here. Creation is something that human beings can't do, but we can design things. We can mold them, we can shape them, but we cannot create. So you're already having a bit of a category error trying to conflate these two things and saying they're analogous. They're not. Moreover, I'm willing to go ahead and chuck a carrot in the hat that a god may have created the universe, but I'm 90% certain it's not your god. In fact, I'm 99% certain it's not your god, because as other videos that I've done on my video show, I'm fairly certain that the god described in the Bible is a logical contradiction. And unless you've seen any square circles recently, I'm fairly certain those things don't exist. Moreover, Sean Carroll is a physicist, and he handedly beat down William Lane Craig in that argument. Mainly because William Lane Craig, in their debate, constantly referred to things in the realms of physics as evidence for God, and then constantly got corrected by Sean Carroll during the debate because he got the science wrong almost each and every time. Because that's the thing about William Lane Craig, he's not a scientist, he's an apologist. He takes scientific arguments and then tries to conflate them with things that work with apologetics in order to make it sound like his ideas are tenable. But that's the thing, they're not, and it's one of the reasons why he's an incredibly dishonest apologist. He'll say that science supports certain things when it obviously doesn't, and whenever you get a scientist who's actually in the field that he's trying to argue from, he usually gets handedly smacked down. But that's neither here nor there.
So until I see the creator of my watch, then I'm going to believe he exists? Oh, I live in this room right here, you know, until I see the creator of this room, then until he shows up in front of me, then I'll believe he exists? Oh, until I see the creator of my Honda Civic car, then I'll believe that he exists? Oh, until I see... You see how foolish and dumb that argument is?
Oh no, it definitely sounds dumb. Because you're strawmanning it. So it intentionally sounds dumb. That's the whole reason that you're making the argument sound stupid to begin with. But I've already pointed out earlier how it's a huge category error because, again, we're arguing for a creator and then comparing it to a human being who creates things, but human beings cannot create things. So saying that the two are analogous to one another is faulty at best, dishonest at worst. And based on the fake PhD, I'll go ahead and say that dishonesty is probably the one that I'm leaning towards.
All right? It's natural and common sense to think that when there are created things here, complicated designs, it demands a creator, a designer. You don't need to see that, all right? The third dumb thing is, how can an all-good God exist when he lets all these bad things happen?
Okay, so that's like a really stupidly put version of the problem of evil. Basically, it's a straw man of the problem of evil is what I'm saying. And I'm not surprised that you're wording it in such a horrible way, but you know what? Let's go ahead and hear your argument and figure out if you poke any holes in it on your own.
You see. So that's the third dumb thing they said, because they automatically prove there is a God. You might say, how? Okay, here's how you can get them. Okay, they said this: how can an all good God exist when, here's their giveaway, he lets all these bad things happen? See, this part they don't believe he exists, but this part they said he exists.
Okay, so the fact that they're willing to honestly engage in a hypothetical is reason for you to engage in a gotcha moment? Yeah, no, I'm not leaning towards dishonesty now. I know you're being dishonest. You see, here's the thing. Most honest people can engage in a hypothetical in order to have a conversation with their interlocutor. There's also this little thing called granting the premise. I can grant that a god might exist and still think that your god doesn't exist. There are many ways to engage in this type of conversation, and trying to be a dishonest gotcha type of individual, that's honestly stupid. There's an honest way to do this, and that's called the Socratic method, where you would ask a series of questions, and then as soon as you find the inconsistency within the answers, then you point out the inconsistency to the person you're talking with. What you're doing, though, is being pedantic. And not just being pedantic to be aggravating, but you're being pedantic so that you can get your opponent locked into a trap. During a debate, this isn't necessarily the worst thing if you're utilizing something like, I said, the Socratic method. But that's not what you're doing here. What you're doing is taking a common shorthand way that we use language and trying to use it as a method to undermine the opponent's argument. So congratulations, you shot yourself in the foot. Let's see if you do it some more.
Okay, so here's the thing, okay? How can you get upset and bitter and frustrated and criticize about a God who lets all these bad things happen when he doesn't even exist? You see, then, you can't criticize, you can't get upset at someone who doesn't even exist if you don't believe he exists. You see, that's foolish.
No, what's foolish is being a dishonest asshole with a fake doctorate. And yet, here we are.
Just because he lets these bad things to happen, that just automatically showed that there is a God then, you see that?
No, that's not how that works. If I say that, hypothetically, if your god existed, and he's an all-good god, then this hypothetical god can't be all good in a situation where he is allowing evil to happen. There's an argument for free will that can be had there, but then the counter-argument to that is usually something involving hell. But again, all of these things are part of a hypothetical. If I say that hypothetically your god exists, and I ask you if he's all-merciful, and you say that he is, and then I ask you if he's all-just, and you say that he is, I can then point out to you that justice and mercy are by their very nature opposite sides of a coin, and you can't be 100% either of them. This leads you to a logically contradictory position. But I feel like that might be over your head given the fake doctorate. So let's take this down to the young adult section of the bookstore and say that I can engage in a conversation about Lord Voldemort from the Harry Potter series. If I say that he's an evil individual whose motivations are vile, you can't say, aha, you think Lord Voldemort exists, because of course, you couldn't say anything about Lord Voldemort or criticize him unless you thought he existed. You see, even the fiction section of the bookstore shows that your argument doesn't work.
You see, that was a trick question. An all good God, you see that? An all good God exists. That's why they word it that way. If they say, how can God exist? Then they already gave it away. You see, that's a dumb statement right there.
Oh, there have certainly been some dumb statements. At least we agree there.
So that's why the Bible says at the book of Romans 1 that atheism is truly dumb and stupid. The Bible says at Romans chapter 1, verse 20, for the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen.
We've already got a problem, and that problem deals with me being pedantic, which I normally would try my best not to do here, but it seems to be what you're doing, so let's go ahead and have this demonstration go. Invisible things cannot clearly be seen by their very definition. If something is invisible, it is not visible. Therefore, it is impossible to see. It possibly could be felt, it possibly could be heard, but it cannot, in any way, shape, and form, be seen. Do you see the problem with being so pedantic?
Being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. Because that when they knew God, they glorified him not as God, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools.
And here's the issue that I have with the entirety of Romans 1:20. Even though it echoes what Paul and Barnabas said in Lystra, that's a story in Acts, by the way, it's talking about how God has naturally revealed himself in history and in nature. Here's the problem, though. You're talking about a supernatural being. Supernatural, by its very definition, means that it does not appear in nature. So there's literally no natural way that God could show himself. So there's no way that he could be clearly seen by people. That said, for the fruits of his works to actually be seeable in the real world, you would need to show me something that requires a God to exist. When it comes to the universe, we don't know. The entire universe could have erupted out of chaos. No need for creation from a deity there. So barring the universe, which we don't know, can you find a single thing that requires a God for its existence? And feel free to come back to me when you can't. And if it seems like I'm being a bit of an asshole, I'm not really that sorry. I have a bit of a penchant against people who have fake doctorates. I think that faking academia in order to make yourself sound like you're an authority on anything is absolutely repugnant.
So the Bible showed you why atheism is already dumb, all right? These three statements are very, very dumb, all right? It's just common sense to believe when you see the complications of how this universe and how this whole world is designed and made. It actually demands a being who is very, very intelligent to design and make all these complications and living things to keep on going and to exist, you see.
No, I don't see, because I don't see anything that demands a God. Now, a God might be behind it. A God might be the first cause. It might be the case that any god under the sun could possibly be real. But we don't live in a world where that's demonstrable. So my honest position is that I don't know. But your dishonest position is that you do know, and that anybody who disagrees with you is dumb. I'm actually kind of curious as to what your objections would be to polytheism then, considering that your arguments, as dumb as they are, don't support monotheism or even the Christian God at all. You mentioned William Lane Craig earlier. This is the same issue that you have with Craig whenever he argues the Kalam argument. If you accept the Kalam argument as true, the most you get is deism. You get that a creator deity created things. But it doesn't tell you what creator deity we have. It doesn't tell you if that creator deity even still exists. And this is the same problem we have with your arguments. Your arguments don't get us anywhere near Christianity, even if I accepted them all as 100% true. But I have looked on your website, and it turns out that you're a King James onlyist, so I can only assume that evidence is icky to you. The King James version might be poetic, but it's hardly an accurate translation of your favorite storytime book.
A complicated creation demands a very complicated and very brilliant creator. Truly, atheism is dumb and foolish. These three things are just very dumb arguments.
Yes, if you use the most basic atheistic arguments and you strawman them to hell, you come up with some very dumb arguments. But the fact that you attacked the absolute weakest arguments possible does not automatically mean that atheism is wrong. If that were the case, then I would just attack Pascal's wager and show that it's false and then immediately say that all of theism is false because I attacked one of its weakest arguments. Except that would be dishonest of me to do. And I'm not saying that you're being dishonest, except I'm totally saying you're being dishonest. In fact, this entire video has been a demonstration on how you lie to your audience. So congratulations. What we've basically demonstrated here is that you spent 5 minutes of a video doing nothing but attacking the weakest arguments possible in their strawman form, and then claimed victory when you jumped on top of a hill, even though the hill was like a foot tall, and everybody who actually gives a damn about this debate is currently sitting on a mountain. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you guys didn't mind me getting a little more aggressive this time around. If you guys did enjoy the video, then please let me know in the comment section below while also hitting the like button. It really helps analytics on YouTube's side, and I do like hearing all your comments down below. Even if I don't have time to respond to most of them, links to Discord and everything else are going to be down below as well. And we also have another $50 patron. They go by Trick on my Discord server, and they have requested that I do another Dangers of Woo episode this month, or just in general give more focus onto that genre. So that's something that I'm going to be trying to do this February. So I hope you guys are ready for that. This also shows the two different types of people who hit the $50 mark on Patreon. There's people like Oz who do it as a method of torturing me, and there's people like Trick who do it as a method of getting content they enjoy. So yeah, two kinds of people. Takes all to make the world go round. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Insert end of video tagline here.